Hundreds of people gathered in front of the Chinese consulate in Vancouver to express their love for Hong Kong and support for Hong Kong on July 18th.
My name is Mabel Tang. I'm the chair of the Vancouver Society in support of the democratic movement. We are here to condemn the Hong Kong police. They use excessive force against the protester. Usually a very peaceful demonstration, but whenever they try to disperse the crowd with really excessive force and tear gas, and it's not only to the protesters but also to the civilians. And also they're using baton and also the beanbag gun to hit the shot to the police, the protester in a really short distance. I just want to tell the Canadian that we have to stand up for Hong Kong because this is the democratic right for every individual, or freedom of speech, freedom to protest. Then this is also our Canadian value. So I think fight for Hong Kong is also fight for our Canadian, for our universal value. We also want to say that we have 2 Canadians detained in China. That we and also a lot of Canadians in Hong Kong. We have 300,000 people in Hong Kong. Because right now the Hong Kong police, they are hitting people indiscriminately, and also some gangster. They are hitting people indiscriminately, no matter you're a protester or civilians. Whenever they're passing by, they've been hit and they've been arrested for no reason. So that's why our Canadians is not safe. I think the Canada government should stand up with Hong Kong and try to de-escalate the situation and talk to the Hong Kong government. That will help the people there. Our organization started in 1989, June 4, after the Tiananmen Square massacre. So we know what the human rights really mean, and we know the freedom really mean to a lot of people. Then even right now, the Chinese Communist Party is still detaining people with no reason. So I think it's a fight that we still have to be on, and we just to make sure people understand what we are doing and to help the Hong Kong people.
I'm Father Richard Su, and I'm a priest in the Catholic Church. The change is in the people. The change is the people are united and more united when they see the threat that they are facing, the danger that they are facing. The people have no choice but to protest. The people have no choice because they don't live in a democratic government. Their government is not elected, so they have to take to the streets. In Canada, it's easy. If we don't like the government, we change it, because in Canada, the people are in control. In Hong Kong, they're appointed by communists, a dictatorship. So the people have to go out on the street to protect their freedom, to protect their human rights. If they don't protest, then they will turn Hong Kong into a concentration camp. So all the horrible things that are happened at Tiananmen, could happen in Hong Kong. All the things that happened to the Uyghurs, the 1 million Uyghurs in the concentration camp, could happen in Hong Kong. All the things that happened to the human lawyers in China could happen to Hong Kong. The courts have a 99% conviction rate. It means that there's no justice in the China police, in the Hong Kong police, so they have to protect themselves. If they cannot emigrate, if they cannot escape, then their own country and their own homes will be turned into a prison and a torture cell. And nowadays, which country is free? Which country has freedom of speech? Which country has freedom of assembly? Which country has a free internet, not controlled by the government? That's the country you want to live in. Do you want to be afraid every time you speak? Do you want to be afraid every time you talk to friends? Do you want to be afraid for your political life? Every time you do something, they can get you. In China, they have cameras everywhere. They check on everything that you do. Do you want to live in a state where you're always afraid and anything you do, you can get in trouble for? Or would you rather live in a free society with democracy and human rights? It's very simple. You can just look at the internet. If the internet is free, that's a good society. If the internet is not free, then you don't want to live there. None of us want to live there. Is there freedom of the press? Right? Or do people get in trouble when they post things on the internet? If you're not free enough to do that, you're living in a slave society.
in Regent College on UBC. I think it's very important for students and young people especially to stand up for freedom and for human rights. As someone, I grew up in Hong Kong. When I grew up in Hong Kong, we had no worries about freedom of speech or what we would say or our political opinions. But now all that has changed so quickly, and it's very, very sad to watch. I think it's important for people if the authorities do things that are not right, I think it's important for people to stand up and say very loudly that that's wrong and that they shouldn't do those things. I strongly support the efforts of the students to resist the clamping down on our freedoms. The key differences was that I did not feel as free to really speak my mind on many things. In Hong Kong, I don't even think about the things, whether or not I can say something. It's not even in my mind. I never have to think about being careful. But in China, I just had to be careful. And it was very strange. It's the first time in my life I had to feel careful about my own thoughts. And I think as a human being, that's a sad thing. I think it's important to be able to feel the freedom to think and to have an opinion and to share that opinion with others for the good of society. I think the protesters have given 5 very specific demands. Probably the most important one is to establish an independent commission to investigate police brutality, police actions. And I think that's a very, very reasonable demand. I also think that they should allow Hong Kong to proceed toward universal suffrage as well, because that is what is outlined in our basic law. And we have a constitutional right to establish universal suffrage in Hong Kong's political system. Instead, China has slowly made that less and less possible, which is, they always accuse us of being law-breaking, but in fact they are breaking our constitution and our one country, two systems framework by continually blocking the passage of universal suffrage. So I think that ultimately that is the goal that I think that's something they can do.
My name is Albert Chan. The Chinese Communist Party have control all of China, and they want to use the same method to control Hong Kong. But Hong Kong people, especially young people, refuse to accept the change of way of governing, and refuse to accept the rule of law going to disappear, and also refuse their freedom is to be vanished. So they start to organize and took on the street and put forward their demand, and now it become an international event. The world is watching. So the Hong Kong people, they are not alone, and they have support from everywhere. And we in Canada definitely are supporting the people of Hong Kong in their struggle for freedom and democracy. Canada is an open society, and the media is free media, so everyone can organize to put forward their concern and put forward their position. And but it's quite clear, the pro-China camp, they have the government backing, and they have all kinds of support that they wish, similar to that in Hong Kong. I mean, in Hong Kong, the Chinese government use all kinds of means, including the unlawful means, to work together with the Triad, sending the armed police from China into Hong Kong to beat up people. And they also disguise as protesters to create all kinds of violence, including throwing the Molotov cocktail, beating up people, beating up reporters. We want the world to know that the situation in Hong Kong and the violence recently is a state-sponsored terrorism. It is crime against humanity. and those people responsible should be taken to the International Criminal Court. And the situation is very serious, similar to the Muslim organized terrorism. In Hong Kong, it is Communist China-sponsored terrorism, and Hong Kong people are suffering. And the world should not turn a blind eye. They should express their concern. They should consider economic sanction against Hong Kong and against China to ensure that they should not be able to do things in such a outrageous manner. People had taken photo of the one who threw the flag, and he wasn't an ordinary protester. It seemed that he is one of the policemen or one of the armed policemen from China. So it is another person in disguise as protester. Similar for those who throw the Molotov cocktail. They are also people from China or from the police. They are not legitimate, Hong Kong protesters. So, that is the kind of lies, that the communist government use, to try to create anguish against, the Hong Kong peaceful demonstration. And people should be aware the kind of dirty tactics that the communist Chinese government have been using in Hong Kong in the past 2 months. This is why one of the major demands, by the protester is to set up an independent commission to look into police brutality, and there should be a commission set up, headed by the judge to investigate the situation in Hong Kong, to review all the facts, so that all those lies, should not be go unnoticed.
My name's Dan Smith. I'm a lawyer. I'm here today because I support Hong Kong and I want the two systems upheld. And I don't feel that, I don't know what the answer is, but I believe in human rights and the rule of law. And as a lawyer, I don't agree with the extradition law. And I stand for the rule of law. And Hong Kong is headed in a bad direction if Beijing steps in and doesn't uphold the current agreement.
Dictatorship is fragile. The SAR government is under pressure. My friends, our message is simple. Our goal is simple. Our goal is free Hong Kong.